Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Charts podcast. I am your host, Miriam, aka the Curly Trader, here to help you start your day with purpose and power. I hope you woke up with unwavering faith that what you're working towards is already on its way to you, but please remember, whether you are on or off the charts, it's all about positioning. Step by step, trade by trade, you gotta align yourself to seize these opportunities because success doesn't wait for anyone, and neither should you. It is currently 3:18 p.m. in warm and sunny Costa Mesa, California, and today we are diving into why it is so damn hard to stick to our trading rules. That's right, we're gonna go over why it feels like there is this constant tug-of-war between the disciplined future you who sets the plan and the impulsive present you who trades live. So go grab some popcorn, a pen and paper, and an ice cold beverage, and let's get into it, shall we? So I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate grocery shopping. Yeah, this is how we're starting this episode. But seriously, there are so many things I would rather be doing with my time than pushing around a cart in a crowded store, dodging people who seem to have zero awareness of personal space, and parking in a lot full of rogue shopping carts that no one bothers to put back. It's honestly a living fucking nightmare. So most of the time, I just get my groceries delivered. But this one time, okay, I was on my way back from a meeting and I remembered I had zero food at home. So I thought, you want to know what? I'm just going to go to this Trader Joe's down the street. It's just around the corner. I'm just going to go in there. Now, this is where I fucked up the first time. Okay. I wasn't just in need of groceries. I was also starving. And if you've ever been to the grocery store while you're hungry, 10 out of 10 do not recommend, okay? Listen, I had my list of healthy stuff that I was gonna grab, okay? Lots of veggies, lots of lean proteins, and all the good things that my future self wanted to eat, right? But then I made the mistake. This is where I fucked up the second time, okay? I made the mistake of walking through the damn snack aisle while I was hungry at Trader Joe's. And if you know anything about Trader Joe's, you know that they are sneaky, okay? They're little sneaky ones. They have one aisle, okay? Just one aisle packed full of snacks. They know what they're doing, okay? And suddenly my stomach took the driver's seat, and future me who wanted to meal prep was gone, exited the chat. And I found myself going home with an extra bag of snacks because I was hungry that moment. Here's the thing. Trading can be a lot like grocery shopping while you're hungry. Like when you're in the calm of planning, you got your grocery list of solid setups and strategies that fit your plan. You've thought it through and everything seems to be clear. But once you're in the live market, once the stimulant hits and the hunger kicks in, it is a totally different ballgame. Suddenly, you're starving for any and every trade, and those future goals, those rules that you promised that you'd follow, they go straight out the damn window. That's what we're going to get into today. Why it is so hard to stick to our trading plans and how we can change that. And this has happened to all of us at some point in our trading career, right? Like you've set up your trading plan, you got your rules in place, you know what setups to look for, you are focused, you are disciplined. But then the market opens and suddenly you go against your own plan. Why? Why do we do this? Why do we self-sabotage like this? I'll give you one reason. And it's a very simple reason. It's not the only reason, but unlike any other career, trading puts you in an environment that promotes instant gratification. Like there is no other career where you can have quick, uncapped monetary potential that you can with trading. The thrill of a quick trade, the rush of seeing a big candle, right? Those are all immediate rewards. And our brains are hardwired to prefer immediate rewards over any long-term payouts. But there's actually a better explanation for this. It's actually a psychological phenomenon called the acrasia effect. And I am probably butchering that, but It's spelled Akrasia. Akrasia? Maybe, I don't know. Anyways, it is a term that actually goes all the way back to Socrates and Aristotle, and it describes the human tendency to act against our better judgment. Okay. So it's when you know that you should do one thing, right? Like following your trading plan or buying healthy groceries. But instead, you do the complete opposite because in that moment, your brain craves something else. A lot of traders fall into this trap and can't seem to get out. And you'll notice that many times the issue isn't in their strategy or their technical analysis. Most of the time, it's because of the simple act of saying one thing and doing the complete opposite of what you said you were going to do. Now, I touched on this a little bit in episode 2 about the habits of winners. And if you haven't listened to that episode yet, pause this one, go listen to it right now. But one of the habits that I talked about was building trust with yourself through self-respect. And sometimes when people think about self-respect, they think, oh, I just have to be nice to myself, or I just have to eat healthy, or, go to the gym, right? But it is so much bigger than that. Self-respect means not skipping the small stuff. Self-respect means being a person of your word. It means doing the boring work because you know that eventually it's going to lead to the 2.0 version of yourself. And I say all this because when we talk about the psychology of trading, oftentimes we are talking about discipline and self-confidence and building trust. But these characteristics are all byproducts of self-respect. Because when you commit to a trading plan, right, you are essentially promising yourself something, right? You're promising that you're going to stick to it. And every time you break that promise by taking an impulsive trade, you are chipping away at your own trust. You are telling yourself that your word doesn't mean anything when the market tempts you. Another layer why it's so hard to stick to our trading rules is because of this disconnect between our future self and our present self. I really thought about this one, and I want you to take a moment to think about it too. Like when you are planning your trades, right, you're likely, hopefully, doing it in the pre-market. So you are calm, you are thinking in a more objective way, and you have more of a long-term mindset. You're planning for your future self, and your future self is the 2.0 version of you, which is disciplined, it's patient, and ready to make the right moves. I mean, shoot, you might even say a few affirmations to yourself, like, I'm not going to let my emotions get in the way, I'm strong, I'm powerful, this, that, and third, right? But when it's go time and ding, 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 the market opens, suddenly your present self takes over. Now, your present self is thinking about what feels good right now. And let me tell you something. Present self doesn't give a rat's ass about your future goals. It cares about what feels good right now, especially when you're in the heat of the moment. All that matters in that moment is the thrill and the action and the possibility of a quick win. And it's at that point that you might as well kiss your trading plan goodbye, because when this mental shift happens, you start making impulsive decisions. Some of you guys might have heard of the marshmallow test. So back in the 70s, these psychology professors at Stanford University ran a study to understand how delayed gratification develops in children. So what they did was they placed a marshmallow in front of a kid and they told them, all right, you can eat this right away, or you can wait 15 minutes and you'll get 2 marshmallows. And what they discovered was the kids who managed to wait were not only able to delay gratification and focus on the long-term reward, but follow-up studies actually show that these children tended to have better life outcomes, like higher SAT scores and healthier habits than the ones who took the marshmallow right away. And honestly, we're not that different from those kids when it comes to trading. We've all had our marshmallow moments when we see a setup that is close, but maybe not quite what our plan calls for. And you think to yourself, if I just take this trade, I'll make some quick money. But just like the kids who grabbed the marshmallow the first time, you are sacrificing the bigger reward, like constant strategic profits, by giving into this immediate gratification. So The next time you find yourself staring at the charts and you're tempted to take that impulsive trade, remember the damn marshmallow. You know what? Better yet, go to the store right now and buy some marshmallows. And every single time you are tempted to take a trade, place a marshmallow in front of you. But seriously, this is why it is so important to identify this early on. Our brains are hardwired to love these quick hits of dopamine. It feels so good. This instant gratification of getting into a trade and seeing the charts move and the excitement of this win, right? It's what tricks us into thinking we made the right decision. But that feeling is temporary. And honestly, most of the time, we end up regretting it when the trade doesn't go our way. And then over time, if you keep going for those instant fixes, it's absolutely going to derail your long-term strategy. I feel like this whole instant gratification cycle is even more apparent with prop firm challenges lately. Prop firms have been all the buzz in the trading world, and they've opened up opportunities to traders to access money that they normally wouldn't have. You just have to pass a trading challenge, and if you don't blow up the account, then boom, you get access to potentially trade on a live funded account, which positions you as a professionally funded trader. Now, these accounts can range from 25,000 to 300,000, and all that's really required from you is an initial fee of $50 to $200. So you think to yourself, okay, not only can I access these funds I normally wouldn't have, but all I need to do is spend a couple $100 and it'll pay for itself 20 times over once I pass these challenges and get funded. But the problem is these prop firm challenges are designed to put you in a degenerate style of trading. They're psychologically set up to take your money. They paint this picture of a huge reward if you just stick to a few rules and boom, once you pass, you level up and you get a little bit closer to your profits. It's very enticing. And some accounts even, it's so crazy because some accounts even allow you to pass a challenge in one trading day. So what happens, right? Traders size up their positions significantly higher than they're used to. They might even pass the challenge in a day or two, and then suddenly any concept of consistency is completely out the window. They've subconsciously trained themselves to think, well, if I just pass this challenge that quickly, I can do the same thing in a funded account. And then when they fail, it's not a big deal because they can just pay the reset fee and try again. And then the cycle continues until they're in the hole hundreds or even thousands of dollars in reset fees. I'm going to be clear though, okay? I have nothing against prop firms. I have used them myself and I've been able to pass the same challenges. I mean, to this day, I've secured over $1.3 million in funded accounts myself, and that's given me the ability to trade with leverage without risking my own capital. But the thing is, prop firms add another layer of mental pressure to trading. And if you're the kind of person who struggles with self-control or sticking to your plan, you're going to have a really hard time not just passing, but actually keeping a funded account. Remember, our present selves crave that quick dopamine hit, even if it's just a small win. And when you're trading with someone else's money like a prop firm's, it's so much easier to take on risk because it doesn't feel like it's fully yours to lose. But what happens is you start to lose that discipline that you had when you planned your trades. You now start bending the rules you set for yourself thinking, it's fine, I'll just pass the challenge and if I fail, I'll just reset it. That style of trading is unsustainable. So what the hell do we do about this, right? Like how do we actually encourage a healthy style of trading that sets boundaries against our impulses? The first step is building a strategy that you can actually trust. You have to have an edge that you believe in so strongly that you are willing to override these short-term impulses because you know that the long-term payoff is worth it. It's the part that takes time because you have to test your plan over and over in multiple market conditions. That's why some of the best traders backtest and forward test and journal their strategies to really dial in what works best for them. You have to find your trader identity, and that journey is going to be different for everyone. So once you have your strategy, you now have to write down your trades, right? Literally map out your trades. So for me, what I do is I write down exactly what needs to happen for me to take a trade. I'll be like, okay, if X, Y, and Z happens, then I'm taking this trade short with these profit targets and this stop loss. And then I make myself look at the other side of the trade. I'll write down, literally, I'll say, okay, if this price breaks above this level, that invalidates this short that I'm about to take. Or if it doesn't hold below a certain area, I should consider cutting my position. It's about creating a framework that keeps you accountable because in the moment, emotions could cloud your judgment, right? You have to remind yourself that there's always two sides to a trade. And for every great trader who's going long, there's an equally great trader who's going short. And having this perspective protects you from getting tunnel vision or getting trigger happy in the market. This process is methodical. It's a disciplined approach. It's literally 70% of becoming a better trader. I don't know. I just made that number up, but it's a lot. It's a big part of it, right? And the rest of it, once you get this part down, the rest of it is just repetition and constantly reminding yourself of the bigger picture. And here's the thing, by no means am I trying to make this sound like it's easy. It is not easy. It's one of the hardest battles you'll probably ever have with yourself because it's not just about trading. It's about breaking old habits and building new ones, right? And that's really hard, but it's so necessary for your success. What do I always say in the beginning of each episode, right? You have to align yourself to seize these opportunities. You need to train your brain to align with your long-term goals. You have to bridge the gap between your future self's plans and your present self's impulses. It's like being an athlete, right? Like it's not just about planning. You have to train. LeBron James and Serena Williams didn't become the GOATs by just showing up on game day and winging it, right? They trained for years. They put in the hours and hours of practice, refining their skills, building habits that eventually developed into a playbook that they trust implicitly. They've turned their discipline into muscle memory because they've built that trust through practice and repetition. And it's the same thing with trading. If you want to build discipline, you have to start by practicing self-respect, challenging yourself to do hard things and actually seeing them through. This is called grit. It's about proving to yourself that you can show up when it counts, even when it's the last thing you want to do. And I'll share a personal story with you. This is actually something that has nothing to do with trading, but it's one of the biggest mental battles that I've overcome that has helped me to this day become the trader that I am. For the longest time, I told myself that I'm not a runner. And I meant it. I was the type of person who would watch people run down the street and think, are you okay? Like, what are you running from? Why are you putting yourself through that kind of pain on purpose? Especially because I came from a competitive powerlifting background. So even though I wasn't shy to a strict training program, I was convinced that running was just not for me. And my body was just not built for it. And honestly, I was okay and I was fine with that belief. And then one day, something changed. I don't even know what it was exactly, but I remember feeling stuck. I remember feeling like I wasn't growing and I needed to push myself out of my own boundaries. And the first thing I thought of was running a marathon. Now, mind you, I had never run anything past 4 miles. So running 26.2 miles just felt impossible and honestly borderline psychotic. But I was so tired of telling myself the same story. So December of last year, I signed up for the LA Marathon. That gave me a solid 12 weeks to train for the biggest physical challenge of my life. Now, I remember the first 6 weeks of training was an absolute nightmare. I mean, my body was rebelling against me. My feet were all blistered up. I had developed IT band syndrome. I didn't even know what that was. But the worst thing of all was my mind was starting to scream at me to quit. Like, girl, what are you doing? Just stop, right? Like, what are you trying to prove? You are not a runner. Just go home. And honestly, I almost did. A lot of times I almost did. But week after week, I showed up. And every time it was a fight. But there was one day, and I was about halfway through my training when I hit a wall. Literally, I was on a long run, about 10 miles, which was already a PR for me. And everything in my body hurt. My legs were cramping. My breathing was off. And I just felt like I had nothing left. And I remember stopping on the side of the road, completely drained with 6 miles to go, thinking, this is it. I can't do this. And then I had this moment where I looked up at the sky and I don't know what came over me, but I just started crying. And I'm getting kind of emotional thinking about this moment because at that time, it wasn't about the run. It was all the times that I told myself that I wasn't capable, all the times that I backed out of challenges because I was afraid of failing. It all came flooding out. But as I stood there with tears streaming down my face, I made a promise to myself. I said, you've come this far. You are not quitting now. And I started running again, one step at a time. And it wasn't pretty. And when I finally finished that run, I realized that I had just proven something to myself. I had faced the pain, the discomfort, and the self-doubt, and I kept moving. And fast forward to race day, I'll be honest, y'all, it was still one of the hardest things I've ever done. But when I crossed that finish line, I felt the weight of every mile that I'd run and every doubt that I'd overcome. And it was one of the most powerful moments of my life. It was about proving to myself that I could show up even when it wasn't pretty, even when every part of me wanted to quit. And that's the thing, you can do hard things. It's no different in trading. Every time you follow through on your trading plan, every time you resist the temptation to take an impulsive trade, you are reinforcing that trust in yourself. You are proving that you can stand 10 toes down in your goals no matter how tempting it is to take the easy route. Because at the end of the day, trading is a lot like running a marathon. It's not about how fast you can get there. It's about showing up for yourself day in and day out and knowing that no matter how hard it gets, you're not backing down. And that's the kind of mental toughness that builds winners in running, in trading, and in life. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Beyond the Charts. If you found this podcast helpful, please help me by subscribing and sharing it with a friend so I can continue to provide more value to you. And if you want to reach out, please leave me a comment or shoot me an email at hello@thecurlytrader.com. I would love to hear from you. I'm Miriam, your host, reminding you to look beyond the charts and envision your extraordinary potential. Until next time, go be great.